Kim Anderson, our crop marketing specialist, joins us now. Kim, let's dive right in. What have we seen over the last month?
Well, we've seen prices inching up. You take wheat prices since early September, they were up 45 cents. They backed off just a little bit 2 weeks ago, and then they recovered most of that loss. You look at corn prices were up about 40 cents. 2 weeks ago, they started down. They've got a slight downtrend. Soybeans gained 90 cents, but the good news is they're inching up. They're slowly, kind of like a snail, but they're moving higher.
We'll take it. What do you see moving forward? Any other changes or things to keep on the radar?
Well, it depends. You look at wheat, it's what's going on in Argentina, Australia, and Russia. Argentina, they were looking at a record wheat crop. They had some poor weather near harvest. They backed that off a little bit. Depends on how low that goes. You look at Australia, they're losing the third crop in a row. They lowered their production estimate about 30 million bushels this last week. And then you look at what's going on in Russia, and there's some major changes going on in Russia. Russia had missed out on the last two Egyptian wheat tenders. Russia's they've priced themselves out of the world market. And so what's happened, the Russian producer, they had heavy debt, they had tight cash flow, they had a limited amount of storage. Over the last few years, they paid down that debt. They've got cash now so that they don't have to sell at harvest, and they've got storage to store their wheat in. So in the past, Russians have sold most of their wheat. Now only about 50% of Russian crop this year has been sold, and only about 40% of that's been export. That resulted in higher prices. France underbid them, Romania underbid them, and so they missed out. And Ukraine underbid Russia, so they missed out on those sales. And you look at corn and beans, well, it's what's going on in Argentina and Brazil and those areas, what their production turns out to be, and uncertainty about U.S. corn production.
So in terms of the higher wheat prices in Russia, dive into that a little more. What's causing those higher prices?
Well, if you look at that again, it's the Russian producer is in a better financial position now, and they can afford to hold. They don't have to have that money at harvest to pay off their harvest cost and their debt. So they are more like the U.S. farmer now. They can store it, and when they do that, that raises the harvest price. That prices them out of the world market. But the bad news for us is they're going to be in that export market rather than being out of it in February, March. They're going to be in it next spring. So it's giving us slightly higher prices now, but it's going to be slightly lower prices as we get into late winter and early spring.
As we continue to think about this, do you think it will impact Russian production in the future?
Well, higher prices could lead to higher wheat production, but I think what's going on right now is they're looking at corn production. The corn production's been increasing, and to a certain degree, soybean production. Also, Ukraine, they had record production this year, and they've offset a lot of Russian wheat on the export market. So yeah, there may be a slight increase in Russian wheat production, but I don't think so. I think they're going to concentrate in other areas.
Okay, Kim, keep us posted, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.